All right, let's begin with the winners, shall we? And I think the first winner is the New York Rangers. They went out and I think made a really great move in acquiring Riley Smith. I think that was a very strong addition to add to some of the depth of this team. I think the addition of Sam Carrick helps out as well. But I think Riley Smith coming into New York gives the Rangers maybe the best top nine in the National Hockey League when it comes to the forward group. Obviously, there are like Edmonton's can rank up there as well because they have two of the top five best players in the league. And same thing when it comes to the Leafs, right? But when you look at like Kreider, Panarin, Zibanejad, Smith now, Hedel and Kako for a full year, Lafreniere bouncing back after what he did last year. I just think you look at this group and it is a scary, scary team to watch. And I think they have, again, kind of cemented themselves as one of the favorites in the National Hockey League. And not very far from there, the New Jersey Devils, they made the exact moves that they needed to make this team a Stanley Cup contender. When you look at bringing in Jacob Markstrom and Pesci, those were the two things that were missing last year. They needed one more impact defenseman, and they needed the goalie. They went out and got probably the best goalie available and one of the better defensemen available to lock in with this core group that they have now. It's really, really impressive what they have been able to what they've been able to do out in New Jersey. And I think that the Battle of New York is going to be alive and well this year with them, and the Islanders aren't going to go away as much as we maybe get annoyed by them. And then obviously the Nashville Predators. Like on my notes, I just kind of have like who they got and whatever, and it was just Nashville. Everyone. They just built a quality second line out of free agency, and for a team that was a one-line team almost exclusively last year, to be able to go out and add a really dynamic playoff-tested second line with Stamkos, Marchessault, and Player X, I think is a really strong impact. And then to keep Saros around, that this is a huge win for the Nashville Predators, and no one's telling you differently, but that this is, when you look at kind of the Central, and it feels like maybe Dallas takes half a step back, maybe Colorado takes half a step back, Winnipeg, we don't know what's going on out there. All of a sudden, there's a path up the middle for the Nashville Predators to go up and make a real run. I think the Chicago Blackhawks are a winner of the offseason so far as well. I like what they have done, adding Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen to already basically getting back Taylor Hall. That this is still not a good hockey team, but they are going to be a better hockey team than they were a year before. And this is going to help them continue on. Like I said on the team breakdown, Bertuzzi and Teravainen aren't going to be your top line in 2 years, but they can be your third line, and you're going to feel really, really confident about that going forward. So I think Chicago has put themselves in a really good spot now, both to improve in the future and then to build off of this foundation going into the years to come. And I think Edmonton is another one of the offseason. They would be an absolute stone cold lock winner of the offseason if they would have been able to go out and get another defenseman. But to go out and add Skinner and add Arvidsson, keep a couple of your other guys around, and give you, again, a really, really strong depth scoring group, which is something they've never had out in Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl. I think you have to look at the Oilers as one of the winners of this offseason. And if they can go out and add a defenseman, they might be the winner of the offseason. So if there are to be winners, there must be losers. Who has lost the offseason so far? Number one to me, the Ottawa Senators. Yes, they went out and got Ullmark. That was something they needed. But that Jacob Chychrun trade is so bad that I think it makes them a loser of the offseason. To just have that kid's value tank so horrendously in a couple of seasons is an indictment on the franchise and a real knock on what's going on there. And for a team that is looking to take that step, and they still might, because Ullmark is such an upgrade over everything they have. But I still, of the teams that are looking to take a jump, I like their forward group the least. And now I unless Shabbat really turns it back around, I don't love the decor there either. So could be tough times ahead out in Ottawa. The Tampa Bay Lightning are absolutely losers of the offseason. They let Steven Stamkos and his 41 goals walk out the door. They bring in Jake Gensel, who is going to be good, but for an extra $1 million a year over Stamkos, he's not going to give you that sort of production. They bring in Ryan McDonough, who at some point has to fall off a little bit, you would think. So I think they were a very clear loser this offseason. The Vegas Golden Knights, we don't say this often about them, whether it's trade deadline time or free agency, but they are 100% a loser. I think when you look at Marchessault leaving and you look at Stevenson leaving, that is like the heart and soul of some of those championship teams, and they're still going to be really good. But those are the types of players you win with, and to be losing those types of guys, I think kind of misses the mark a little bit about what made that team really good. The Pittsburgh Penguins, for inactivity. It sounds like they're going to keep Sidney Crosby around, so build around him. And they have not done a thing to make this a better hockey club than they were a year before. I hate that this is how they are building around Sidney Crosby, in that they're not basically at all. And I think it is a real failure of the organization that it is at this point right now. And then the last loser from the NHL is the Washington Capitals. I hate the acquisition of Pierre-Luc Dubois. I understand you needed to move on from Kemper, but I don't think Kemper was a depreciated asset to the point that you needed to bring that cat in. I think that's a real, again, failure of the organization. And then I think that they are bringing in Andrew Mangiapane, assuming he's the 30-goal guy from a couple years ago, and he just simply isn't. So I think Washington is really going to have a lot of guys playing out over their skis, and that's not what a good offseason is. So those are the winners and losers of the NHL offseason.